Hi everyone! Even though I wasn't making videos from the beginning of May, I have been silently following a lot of amazing artists creating beautiful mermaids for Mermay over on Instagram and some over here on YouTube too, and I wanted to join in, so here's my effort. If you've seen some of my other videos in the past, you know I have had a go at a version of a mermaid, I guess you'd call it that, back in my ink and watercolour piece Koi. My idea for that was a woman rising from a lake in a dress made of koi fish, and I kind of wanted to almost rework that concept a little in today's painting with a few changes that I thought could be interesting. Sometimes when I'm trying to get a drawing or a sketch onto paper, it's almost as if I can see a shadow of it in my mind's eye. Sometimes if I'm lucky it's a clear image, but even then I struggle to get it from my imagination onto paper. Usually it's more like an impression and I'm just feeling in the dark while I'm drawing. I imagine this is how all artists work, but then again maybe not. I'd be interested to know the process you guys go through when you're constructing or creating your own drawings. Do you have a clear image in mind that you're almost translating onto the page, or do you just go with the flow, or is it something else that I haven't even thought of? I'd love to know below. So yeah, I was going in blind with this painting a bit, but I did have two ideas that I knew I wanted to work with too. I knew I wanted her fishtail to be made up of lots of little fish, but instead of them almost stitching together like they did in Koi, I wanted to mimic pilot fish that you see on sharks. You know, those tiny fish that look like they're stuck to the shark while it swims around? I didn't want them too dispersed though, as I also wanted to give the illusion that maybe she just has all these multicoloured scales if you were just flicking past the image or you saw it from further away. And the other idea I had was more to do with the overall composition of the piece. With her being underwater, I wanted to play with the figure a bit, so before I started sketching, I looked at a load of images of contortionists just for inspiration. And then I got sketching. I've recently been getting into playing with the sketches in my sketchbook and then scanning those in, playing with them again over on Photoshop, blowing them up like I did in this case up to A3, and then tracing them with some help from my lightbox. I mentioned to Em's art studio, hopefully she's in the comments below so that you can check out her wonderful art videos too if you haven't seen them yet, but I mentioned to her that I do this because it takes a little bit of the self-imposed pressure I put on myself when planning these bigger paintings just off. It sounds silly, but one thing that worries me is wasting my paper, and the less chance I have to ruin my quality paper that I've got, the happier I'm going to be. Plus, I feel a lot more free to make mistakes and play around in my sketchbook, and I think because of that, the sketches are always just a lot nicer in there than if I try and do them fresh onto a nice piece of A3 paper. So anyway, I painted the mermaid in gouache, which I really debated on beforehand. I seem to be doing that a lot in this one. I was flipping between watercolours and gouache, but I decided on gouache because, for one, I think it's good to rip off the plaster sometimes, especially as I've only used them once up to now, maybe twice since I got them. I do want to get better with them though, so this felt like a good excuse. I also wanted a thicker appearance to the paint. By that I mean the colours to be maybe bolder and thicker and just get a bit of that paint texture. I always admire and love work that doesn't rely heavily on line work, probably because I rely heavily on line work. I feel it takes a good amount of knowledge on shade and colour to achieve nice illustrations like that, and I feel like these are maybe my weaker areas, so again, good to get some practice where you feel the most unsure. I did end up adding a watercolour wash right at the end over some of the background, but the majority of this painting is gouache. As the painting was coming all together, lots more ideas came to me. When choosing the fish that I wanted to use, I wanted to go with some pop-eyed goldfish, kind of a nod to the koi fish from Koi, but maybe a bit more goofy looking and different. I also wanted to tell a miniature story in the illustration too, with the fish from her tail coming down, maybe to blow bubbles at her. Maybe he's trying to communicate with her, who knows. I just thought it'd be nice to have them interacting with her. You probably also noticed I didn't end her tail with a fin. I did try it out in a sketch beforehand, but I just wasn't feeling it. I guess she's more of an eel maid. Okay, I just checked what the mer in mermaid actually means, and it seems to just mean fish-like or underwater creature-like, so I think I'm still okay with this eel variant mermaid. And I think my last point on this painting that I'd like to mention would be the skin and hair colour. Again, it's like I mentioned before, I felt with this piece I was reaching into the dark a lot and just seeing what felt right, and when I tried to imagine her with different human skin colours, I just wasn't really happy with it. So I tried to imagine, well, if she wasn't really subjected to the sun, and who's to say that her blood's even red? Why would she be these warmer colours? Maybe she's like a squid and she has blue blood. And so I thought, oh, blue skin could be fun. And for hair, it's funny because when I imagine mermaids, I think of pastel coloured beautiful women. And if the skin colour is human, the hair is usually bright pastel colours, isn't it? So again, thinking to contrast this, and also with the tail being so loud already, I thought it would be nice to keep her colours more subdued. So I went with white hair with maybe some green reflected light to highlight the shape at times. I was really happy to play with this concept and paint my own mermaid for Mermay. Just glad I actually did it in time, to tell you the truth. But with it coming to an end, I thought I might try and mention some artists that I thought created some beautiful mermaids for Mermay, and link them down in the description below if you're interested. Maybe some might be new to you and you can go find some new artists. I'll try and mention mostly smaller artists because I feel we'll probably all know the bigger ones. So some of the artists I wanted to mention would be Lady Kiki over here on YouTube. She's been blowing it out of the water, no pun intended, with daily mermaids. She's got a beautiful traditional illustration style that looks like it just could be something out of a Grimm's fairy tale. I'm a really big fan, so yeah, I think they're definitely worth checking out. I think it's pronounced Mermaids Artist. They have a real gorgeous painting style. It's almost glossy, it's that sharp. Also, Sarah Alden's fairy art has some of these lovely classical, as I imagine them, style of beautiful mermaids. I feel like if you were going to paint a beautiful mermaid, that's how you do it. And Mermaid, she did this adorable axolotl? I don't know how you pronounce that word. I've seen it, but I don't think I've ever heard it aloud. But anyway, she did a really cute character based on that creature in pen and watercolour, and I really like that too. And she's done a few others through the month, but that was my favourite. And yeah, I feel like I could name a few hundred more, but the video is long enough. That could be really fun though, you know, going through lots of great artists, especially people who have less than 1,000 followers over on Instagram or here on YouTube, because there's so many that I follow that deserve a lot more recognition, I feel. What do you think? Would you be interested in a video like that, maybe focusing on lots of different artists that maybe are a bit smaller? I don't know, I just feel like that could be quite fun to do. And that's really it for today's video. I really enjoyed painting this one and getting to play with gouache again. It's funny because I always put myself off using it because I'm not really used to it as a medium. But every time I am really happy with the result. I think it's this great mix of acrylic and watercolour, and though I don't do much acrylic on this channel, it's the paint I'm probably the most acquainted with and feel the most comfortable with. So having those aspects of it mixed with watercolour, I feel makes it a little bit easier to work with. So I don't know, maybe more gouache paintings in the future. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. If you know any other great artists who made great mermaids for Mermay, please comment them below and share them, because I'd love to see more. And just, yeah, let's spread a bit of love in Mermay. I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you next week.